Chapter 2, 28 Words in 3 Days. We eat supper early that night, just the three of us at the kitchen table. We haven't eaten in the dining room since Mama disappeared. We used to eat dinner in there every night. Now it's dark and empty like a tomb or a shrine. I don't think we'll see it again until Mama comes home safe and we can all sit in there as a family again. We can eat and talk and laugh like we used to. Daddy will tell lame jokes, Mama will ask us about our day at school, and my brother won't be mean to me anymore. But for now, it's just a dark room collecting dust on our memories of her. We sit in silence, Danny wolfing down his mashed potato like it's his last meal ever, and Daddy staring at his plate like he's reading tea leaves. Every couple of minutes, he moves some food around with his fork, but that's about it. He hasn't always been like this, just since Mama was taken. I don't think he knows how to be without her here, holding us up together. That was her department, not his. Before Mama disappeared, Daddy laughed a lot, and he always loved scaring Danny and me, or pinning us down on the floor and tickling us until we almost peed ourselves. He'd do the same thing to Mama sometimes until she would scream and laugh and holler like a crazy person. Now when I look over at Daddy, all I can see is his bald spot on top of his head. I don't think he likes to look at us anymore, least of all me. I know it's because I can't remember what happened that day, and because I look the most like her, and because Mama and I share a name and a birthday, but also because of my condition. Or maybe he blames me and that's why he can't look at me. Maybe he thinks I could have done something to save her. Called out for help, gotten the license plate number of the fancy car that was sitting in front of the house that day. Locked the front door after I went outside, but Mama was in the house, so why would I lock the door? And how did I know something bad was going to happen to her? She just disappeared without a trace, right out of our front living room. That's another reason we don't go in there anymore. It's like a crime scene that no one wants to disturb in case there's still some undiscovered shred of evidence hidden in there. Fibers in the carpet or something. I'm surprised Frank hasn't put bright yellow police tape across the door. Maybe he should. Who am I to say? Detective Chase Cooper would know what to do. Since no one is talking or looking up, I glance around the kitchen as I pretend to eat. I see Mama in every nook and cranny, like the dish towels hanging on the oven door handle with the words, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord," embroidered on them in red frilly letters. I was with her when she found those at the Big Lots in Uptown. She loved them so much she bought 2 sets. But that's not a lot of money at the Big Lots, probably like $3 or something. And the Precious Moment cookie jar on the counter, she found that at the Salvation Army store. It has a picture on the front of a boy and a girl with really big heads and droopy eyes sitting back to the top on the tree stump. It says, "Love one another." Mama likes things with nice saying printing on them. She says, "It can't hurt to be reminded to love each other every time you reach for a cookie. Right, Button?" Mama loves baking cookies. She makes them for me to take to school for my teachers to sell at Mr. Killen's market to raise money for the church. She even made a big batch last Christmas for the prisoners at the work camp outside of Uptown. She's real good at cookies. But one time she tried making blackberry jam, like in the story of the Whispers, and it was terrible. It was so bad, we laughed and laughed while we ate some of it on toast that burnt. Another time she tried to teach me how to make biscuits and gravy, but I burnt my hand on the stove, so that was the end of my cooking lessons. All I'm allowed to make now are frozen fish sticks and tater tots in the oven. Frozen fish sticks are gross, but we've eaten them a lot the last 4 months. I don't mind the tater tots. But Grandma supplied tonight's meal even though Daddy tells her she doesn't have to do that anymore. Grandma hates the idea of us eating fish sticks and tater tots so much. I wonder what Mama's eating right now, or if she's been eating at all. What if whoever took her doesn't give her enough food to stay alive until the police can find her? Frank said there aren't any new leads in the case. I say, breaking the unbearable silence. My words hang in the air like lint. Daddy looks up from his plate and stares like he doesn't even recognize me. Danny stops eating and glares at me from across the table. He never wants to talk about Mama's case. Even Tucker lets out an anxious groan under the table, like he knows I should have kept my big mouth shut. He misses Mama too. He hasn't been the same since she disappeared. But the vet can't figure out what's wrong with him. I think he's just depressed. Finish your peas and take Tucker outside, Daddy says, looking back down at his plate. I think that makes a total of 24 words Daddy said to me in 3 days. So I hit the jackpot this evening. I eat my peas one at a time and with my fingers. I know it annoys him. If Mama were here, she'd give me the mama side eye. But she's not. And Daddy doesn't even look up to scold me. He just plows circles in his mashed potatoes with his fork. If Danny or I did that, he would yell at us and tell us to stop playing with our food. Daddy used to like me. He even took on my very first roller coaster ride, and he wanted it to be the same when he took his first ride on the Swamp Fox at Family Kingdom Amusement Park in Myrtle Beach. It's one of those old-timey wooden coasters that makes that loud clack, clack, clack noise when they go up for the first climb. The newer coasters don't make that sound anymore, and Daddy says it's not the same without it. I was so scared and screamed my butt off the entire ride, but Daddy didn't mind. He just laughed and laughed like a crazy person with his eyes raised high in the air the whole time. When I was 6, we were on vacation in Florida, and Daddy took us to Alligator Farm. He picked me up so I could get a better look at the big slimy creatures. Then he thought it would be real funny to pretend like he was going to throw me over the fence like a gator's bait. A fat one spotted us and slowly came crawling our way while Daddy kept up his act for way too long, swinging me back and forth and back and forth. 1, 2, on 3. I almost crapped my pants, but he never got on 3, so I'm pretty sure Daddy wasn't trying to feed me to the alligators. I screamed bloody murder anyway, but Daddy didn't mind. He just laughed and laughed like a crazy person. To this day, I can't even look at the alligator on TV, but I have to admit it was fun. Daddy was fun, not anymore. Daddy's phone vibrates on the table, which gets him a hard look from Daddy. His phone is supposed to be off during dinner. Daddy grabs it and tucks it into his lap. It's probably some girl from school calling. Danny likes girls now, huh? Sorry, he says to Daddy without looking him in his eye. Daddy stares at him a moment and finally his face softens, just a tad. He doesn't yell at Danny. He would have yelled at me, but Danny's a daddy's boy just as much as I'm a mama's boy. And I don't have a phone yet. It's okay. I wouldn't want any girls calling me anyway. Danny gets up and goes to the window over the sink. He mumbles at it as he lifts it open. It's stifling in here. Wow, 28 words in 3 days, but those last 4. What does it mean, Daddy? I say, although I have a pretty good idea. I just want him to notice me. What does what mean? He kind of grunts back. He looks over his shoulder at me and gives me a flat look. It means it's hot and stuffy. I push my luck, trying to lighten the mood. Use it in a sentence, Daddy. Stifling. He sighs. He squints at me like he can't remember my name or why I'm here. What? Use the word stifling in a sentence, I say, feeling hopeful. I just did. He looks out the window, dismissing me with a slight shake of his head. Danny stuffs his mouth and grunts his agreement with Daddy. Danny eats like a pig and always sighs with Daddy. Actually, Danny does everything Daddy does. So now that Daddy doesn't like me, Danny doesn't either. He used to play with me before Mama disappeared. Now he just acts like I don't exist. He barely even talks to me, stays in his room with the door closed during Lord knows what, and hangs out with his new high school friends in Uptown. He's only 3 years older than me, but he treats me like a baby. Tucker must have sensed the tension in the room because he lets out a long, flappy fart that sounds like a balloon deflating under the table. Danny looks at me and his lips curl up, exposing teeth caked with mashed potatoes and gravy. Danny never smiles at me anymore, but he thinks farts are hilarious, especially dog farts. Even I can't help but smirk, just a little, but we both freeze, waiting to see how Daddy will respond. It could go either way. The second tick by long and slow, like they did during the sermons at North Creek Church of God when he used to be church-going people. I dare to look over at Daddy standing at the sink. His shoulders are shaking a little, laughing or crying. I can't tell. He turns to face us and I see that it's both. He's laughing softly, but at the same time, his eyes are moist. I'm surprised because I don't think I've seen Daddy crack even a polite smile to anyone in the last 4 months. His laughter sparks life into the room and we know it's okay now. We have permission to join him and we do. Hard. It's the first time since Mama disappeared that there's been any laughter in the house. It sounds amazing, echoing around the kitchen. And then drifting out the window. Tucker scrambles from under the table, barking excitedly and joining in our rare moment of happiness. Daddy's laughter eventually dies down, though. His smile doesn't totally disappear, but it fades a little. His eyes are still misty. A strong, honeysuckle-scented breeze rolls in through the open window and brushes my cheeks. I close my eyes and breathe in deep. It almost like she's here, like she's heard us laughing and rushed into the kitchen to see what all the fuss was about. Mama loves the smell of honeysuckle. She always yells at Daddy for cutting back the bushes in the yard. It grows like crazy around the house. Mama taught me how to pinch off the button of the bloom sides, the stem out. Mama taught me how to pinch off the button of the blooms, slide the stem out, and lick the nectar off. She calls it nature's candy. Now, whenever I catch a whiff of honeysuckle, I think of her and I wonder if I'll ever see her again. Right now, it's like she's reaching out to me from wherever she's being held captive, calling to me to come find her, to rescue her. The police are useless, so I may be her only hope. Take the gassy butt outside, Riley, Daddy says, his smile completely fading. Wow. He said my name, and he wasn't yelling or cross-sounded or anything. Just said it like normal, like he would say Danny's name. I hop out of my chair with a small jolt of satisfaction or pride or something pumping in my veins and guide Tucker to the kitchen door. Looking back over my shoulder, I smile at him. Okay, Daddy. But he doesn't see me. He's already turned his back on us again. He stands at the sink. I'm not sure if he's laughing again or if he's gone back to crying. I don't think I really want to know for sure. So I grab Tucker by the collar and hurry out the door.